Hello and welcome back to the For the Property Investor podcast. I'm Owen Davis and I'm here with another special guest for our expert series. I'm here with Rebecca Moroney, or Beck, as I always call you, if that's okay.
Yeah, 100%. No, Rebecca. I'm in trouble from my parents every time they call me that, so it's good.
Okay, all right. Well, I've got your name at the bottom of the screen here. It's Rebecca. So, well, yeah, that is your full name, but you're Beck to me, so that's how I know you.
Great.
Now, welcome back to the podcast, and you are a buyer's agent, correct?
That's right. Proud to be one as well.
Great. It's and we love buyers agents on this podcast, and of course working with us at Leafield Real Estate as property management specialists. And I wanted to have you on the podcast. I invited you on because you're a little bit different in terms of what you do. I find everyone is. They all have their little niche. But first of all, how did you get started as a buyer's agent?
Yeah, it's a cool story I like to tell, actually. It all started about 15 years ago when I purchased my first house, or not first house, but one of the first. It was a painful process, like it really was, and it exhausted us completely. And I was having a wine with a friend, and I just said, wouldn't it be great if there was an agent who represented the buyer? And she's like, yeah, that's a great idea. So the next morning, I actually called the ATO and I said, I've got a new business venture. I want to vet it through you. And, started explaining it. And they said, do you mean a buyer's agent? And I'm like, does it exist already? And she's like, yeah, I think so. So I was a bit gutted and I kind of let it go. But yeah, last year I was made redundant from my corporate position, and to be honest, I was at a really big inflection point. I've been in the corporate world for 23 years as a senior executive of many tier one organizations, delivered huge success in building transformation practices, but I was tired and I just felt like I needed something to change. So after I got over the shock of the redundancy, I just went, you know what, like I want to do something for me. Like this is the time, if anything, to go out on my own and do something. And I was actually just flicking through Instagram one day and Ben Hansler from Buyers Institute of Australia came up, and I just loved how real and authentic he was and how he was talking. And he's was talking about buyers agents and how they're misunderstood and there's so much opportunity. And I'm like, yes, like I was like, yeah, I'm on that train. Like that's it. So, I reached out to them. The journey started from there. And 3 weeks later, I signed up to their program to learn all about it. And then on the 24th of December, I made the decision to buy a business name. So pretty much from the 1st of January onwards, I launched the business, Wayfinder Agency, and never looked back. I'm just on a trajectory that I'm just so excited about.
Fantastic. Well done. And welcome to the industry. And but so it's only been a short period of time, but you've done a lot in that time.
Yeah,
definitely. So tell us about the particular type of client that you tend to help and what you specialize in.
Yeah, look, initially I saw myself entering this function to work with owner occupiers. So people wanting to buy their first home or their next or their family home or, even the elderly, right? Definitely wanted to specialize around the Hills area, which is where I have lived for the past 20 years.
Which is in Sydney, by the way. Yep.
Yeah, sorry, in Sydney. But just through sheer networking, talking to people, I'm part of BNI, but I've formed really strong partnerships with brokers and real estate agents and alike. And the types of people that I've been working with are not only just owner occupiers, but also investors who are looking to invest with their own cash, invest with their self-managed super funds. I've had people come to me to purchase commercial requirements, both for investing and owning, and also developers. So I'm working with 2 developers at the moment. One developer has asked me specifically to, source properties where they can actually, build apartments that accommodates to some government funding coming out. So quite simply, my portfolio is vast, and I think the reason why people like working with me is because I like taking on the hard stuff. I like taking on the challenges.
Yeah.
And yeah, the business has gone gangbusters. I have about 23 clients now. That's growing on a daily basis, and I'm purchasing all over Australia.
Great. And specifically with investors, what do you specialize in any type of, and because that's what we're all about in our business with Leafield Real Estate, with property management. So
Yep.
that's my core interest. So do you specialize in any type of investment strategy?
Yeah, all of them, right? So whether it's,
Okay.
positive cash flow or capital growth requirements, essentially what we do is, when we start to engage with each other, or when I start to engage with
Yep.
a client, we sit down and, for about an hour in a strategy session, and I really, underpin what the actual strategy is, what the client's seeking, in terms of, do they have location preferences? What's their strategy? Do they have any specifications around, block size and all of that? I try to coach investors away from being too tedious about their must-haves, because it's an investment property. And majority of the time, people are buying an investment property for a strong financial growth, right? So with that, it doesn't matter if it's a 3-bedder or a 4-bedder. If it's got really strong capital growth, it's got really strong rental yield, well, then let's get into it. So more often than not, the investors I've been working with and delivering good outcomes for, I'm really choosing properties that deliver, a strong positive cash flow, and also reinvestment opportunities in about year 2 or 3, which is really, really good.
Yeah. No, that sounds great to me. I've been been in this industry for about 25 years now, and a lot of people who are working with investors, they tend to try to, shove down their potential clients' throat this one magic bullet that they believe in, and I always find that the people that get to know their client first, and what they need in their strategy, they always do the best because they got the best interest of the client in hand. Usually the people, throwing down the strategy that they're pushing is it's usually where they're making the most money. So no, that's great to hear, Beck. And you mentioned you're buying all across the country at the
Yeah, that's
moment.
right.
Are there any specific areas that are your top picks?
Yeah, look, this won't be a surprise, but Western Australia and Queensland are certainly hotspots, and I'll talk to you in a minute about kind of where. But also
Yeah.
Sydney, if we look past, the Central Coast, Newcastle, outwards way of New South Wales, there's a lot of new development going on out there, new house and land packages, a lot of infrastructure improvements to the roads, bypasses that's, making it a lot easier to travel on those freeways. So yeah, that's going gangbusters in New South Wales. And, it's not really broadly understood. And that's what I love about being a buyer's agent, because we can actually help to go, hey guys, did you not think that in our own backyard, or for me anyway, being in New South Wales,
Yeah.
there's an amazing opportunity out there, right? But again, it's touch and go, right? It really, and this is what I stress, and this is what I like about what you said before, there's no one silver bullet. And the reason why
Yeah.
is because everyone's circumstance is different, right? They might be putting in 10% versus 30%, and there's so many variables, there's no one solution. Really that strategy session really kind of depicts for me, and I love it when a client says, I don't care where, just get me the strongest buy. And it's like, yes, great. But I'd have to say, Perth is just on another level of insanity at the moment.
Yeah.
You've got a lot of new development in Baldavis, and kind of about 40 minutes out from the city. But in saying that, I purchased a property for a client the other day. in Averley, and that's 17.71% capital growth and 11.3% yield, rental yield.
Wow.
Now, for that client, they've got quite a bit of a portfolio going on. They've got about 5 houses, but they weren't putting any money in themselves, any cash. So they were borrowing 100% of it, and then plus stamp duty. So their LVR was about 120%. So it was quite a challenge for me to find the right property that would actually get them in a positive cash flow state. It's fair to say that one in Averley did, and they'll be settling on that very shortly. So that's Perth. Within 15, 20 kilometre radius of Perth City, there's some really great opportunity for sure. Also Hilbert. But in Queensland, they're going through another wave now. So past Caboolture in the mill, there's hectares and hectares of development going on, and they're subbing that up for home and land packages. So we're seeing, because of that, that's actually boosted the price of property in Caboolture, or boosted the opportunity. The price is still the same. And a little bit of a tip, a lot of the properties there also have granny flats and are considered dual income. In Queensland, one of the, I guess, most popular forms of investment is dual income.
And we manage quite a few dual incomes in southeast Queensland.
Yeah, and it's double the rent, right? So one of the investment properties I've got, is dual income. It's 3 bed on one side and 1 bed on the other. But yes, so much great opportunity out in Queensland, and again, another wave of new development. Although, 45 minutes an hour out, I think that's kind of the norm nowadays.
Yeah. And I want to come back to you mentioned regional New South Wales a bit earlier. Can we explore that a bit further in terms of are there specific areas that you're looking at and why?
Yeah, look, a big area that I've seen lately of opportunity is in Muswellbrook. That's kind of inland a bit, I think it's about 40 minutes out from Newcastle, but it's
just on the other side of the Hunter Valley. Yeah.
Correct. And the Hunter and Muswellbrook, they're kind of really they're rising in terms of popularity and areas of opportunity. One, because the prices are still quite low, but the rent is going up. So the value, it's kind of funny. You normally see kind of both kind of rise, but it's not. The buy price is, really still good for 500, 700 square metre blocks even. And there's amazing rental opportunity at the same time. So I'm seeing yield rates at 8% plus.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. So those are some areas that I'd, around there, and probably, around that Hunter region as well.
Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. And in terms of what's happening in the market, I mean, you covered a little bit with talking about Perth and parts of Queensland, but in general, like when you're talking to clients, what are their questions and concerns at the moment? With interest rates at what we hope is a peak. Now that there's talk of maybe an extra rate rise or two, or at least any rate drops happening later in the year or even next year. What are their questions or concerns and happening at the moment?
Look, I'd have to say around the interest rates, my clients are not so concerned about that. I think there's a lot of tentativeness from clients to buy in Perth. There's somewhat of a negative stigma when it comes to Perth, and I'm finding I'm having to break that down a bit in my conversations with people. And I don't know why. I think people are scared that Perth's going to go through the big crash like it did many years ago. But, I definitely educate my clients that was really a mining, in mining towns and alike. And I mean, there's certain kind of flags with me that I actually don't even go near, and mining towns is actually one of them due to unpredictability, right? And one could say that's a bit of a contradiction, because I'm talking about Muswellbrook being an opportunity and there's mining there, but they've been there for 20 years plus, right? There's a lot more stability around that mining market, and they're almost part of it. It's kind of what makes up Muswellbrook out there, right? But so I'd have to say some tentativeness is definitely around, well, why Perth? Show me somewhere else. I'm like, no problems. I'll show you somewhere else. And I'll hit, Queensland. And there's some good opportunity in Victoria as well, somewhat. Their land sizes are very small though. But yeah, I just think that people lean a little bit more towards comfort around just the perception. But that's okay, because, part of my job is around education, right? And making sure that everyone's armed with the facts around what they're buying and where they're buying, and knowing that over at least a projected 10-year period, what I've set out in terms of opportunity of growth is tangible. I'm not just looking at data on a screen and just proposing it that way. I'm actually researching the suburb. I'm looking at, the trends. I'm looking at the infrastructure that's being built. I'm looking at, all of those kinds of factors over the next 10 years at least, that help to, at least validate what I'm putting forward as an opportunity to be strong.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
And interesting with the Perth market compared to the last time they had that boom, which was definitely a mining and resources fed boom. This one definitely isn't. Yes, it was probably well overdue. A bit like the boom that Sydney experienced after a long flat period in that sort of early 2010s. Perth was pretty flat for a long time, and now everyone has realised that and is taking advantage of it. But yes, we have to watch this space to see how long it lasts.
Well, look, I was just speaking to you before, Owen, about I'm selling up my property in Queensland, and I'm going to buy 2 properties now in Perth. So I'm eating my own cooking here, right? Which is important, right? And again, it works for me. The numbers are there, and on average, the capital growth in Perth across pretty much the entire state is 15% or over. There's something that you can't ignore, because what that provides is positive equity in your property to reinvest and keep on investing. So just got to get in at the right time. In saying that, though, the Perth government is getting frustrated with the amount of investors that are taking over the state. So they have been threatening to impose price increases to really discourage investors coming in too much more, because they want
price
more
increases
to houses.
Price increase.
To houses.
Okay. So on the taxes on that they're going to put on, or
That's right.
Okay. So like land tax and so on.
That's right.
Or stamp duty. Yeah.
Okay. That's right.
All right. Interesting. All right. Well, Beck, it's been lovely to have you on. It's been great to have this conversation. Where's the best place to where if anyone wanted to reach out to have a discussion about to have that strategy discussion? Where's the best place for them to reach you?
Well, my website is probably the ideal, and that's www.wayfinderagency.com.au. Or they can just look up Wayfinder Agency on Instagram, LinkedIn. I'm on all the socials, and reach to me then. So that's the easiest.
Fantastic. All right. Well, again, thanks for joining us, and anyone, if they want to be connected with Beck, please reach out to myself as well, and I can put you in contact. And if anyone does have any questions, yes, please feel free to reach out to us here on the podcast. Okay. Thanks, Beck. We'll talk soon.
Thanks, Owen. Cheers.